Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or as we like to say here at Shady Acres Woodshop, howdy. This is going to be a little bit different. This is going to be a lot different. I've never made anything like this in my life. What you see in here is a 5/16 inch dowel, a 3/8 inch dowel, 3/4 inch dowel, a 6-inch disc, a 5-inch disc, an 1.25 inch inside diameter by 1.5 inch outside diameter sink drain washer, 1 inch, 1.25 inch nylon washers. I'm either going to use this or I'm going to use this. I'm not going to use both. Have to decide as I go along. And then I just threw this into the mix. This is a little brass split rivet. I don't know if I'll use that or not. Anybody care to take a guess at what I'm making? A friend of my son-in-law's, where he works, is a knitter. And she showed him a picture in a catalog of a yarn dispenser. Now some guys make yarn bowls with that cutout in them. And I just can't bear to take a nice bowl and make a cutout like that. But that's not what she wanted anyway. She wanted one of these. So the idea here is to mount these on the lathe, this piece, and they'll be mounted like that. And then I'll turn the two of them together and kind of blend the edges. And then the bottom piece will get this 3/8 inch dowel sticking up out of it. Currently these have 5/16 inch holes, and that's so that they can fit on my woodworm screw, but they will have 3/8 inch holes. This one may have a 1/2 inch hole. I'm not sure about that either. But in any event, this will be sticking up out of here once it's all done. This will be sticking up out of the top piece, and this is what the yarn, whether it's a skein of yarn, I think they call it a skein of yarn, or a ball of yarn, will fit over and rest on the top disc. And then I guess it's just a matter of pulling on the yarn, and this disc will turn on the bottom disc along with the dowel and allow that yarn to be pulled out easily. This 5/16 dowel is just to hold these two pieces together so that I can turn them without losing my center. So that's all that's going to hold those two together, although I'll have my tailstock up. So I'll get that loaded up for you so that it makes more sense, and we'll go from there. So I've placed this wooden disc, actually it's hardboard, over my woodworm screw. And mostly the reason I'm doing that, I don't need the full length of it for this project, but mostly the reason I'm doing it is so that I don't scar up the bottom of this piece, because it's all sanded, ready to go, ready for finish. So I'm just going to put this on here. That leaves about a little over 3/8 of an inch sticking out that I'm able to screw onto here. Then I'm going to take my little 5/16 inch dowel and stick it in there until it hits that woodworm screw. And then I'm going to take my 5-inch disc and place it over that. And that bottom is all sanded, ready to go. And that'll keep the two pieces aligned. And then I'm going to bring up my tailstock, and that'll keep the two of them together. And that will allow me to get this one round and then blend the two pieces together in some sort of a pattern. I don't know what. Something simple, no big deal. I'll be turning at about 950 RPM with a 1/2 inch bowl gouge just to get this rounded up. And up here, all I want to do is kind of dish it out slightly, not a lot, just to give it the impression that it's helping hold the yarn in position. I don't think it will be helping much, but kind of give it that idea. I just want to measure that. Yeah, just about an inch. That's actually close enough, but I'll get a little closer. I'm going to start at 120 grit. I've got this mesh kind of sandpaper, 120 grit. So I'll work at this for a while, and I'll sand up to at least 400, probably 600. I want this real smooth. I don't want any yarn hanging up on it. So I'll come back when it's time to put some probably sanding sealer on here. I sanded through 600 grit and then applied a coat of sanding sealer and then a coat of wax. Well, after I buffed the sanding sealer with steel wool, then a coat of wax, and I'm going to call it good. It's quite smooth. And now I'm going to disassemble this setup and drill a hole in the top one, in the top disc, a 1/2 inch hole, through hole, and that will accommodate this larger dowel, which I'm going to turn a 1/2 inch tenon on. This is a 3/4 inch dowel that will stick up like this, and that will accommodate, or the 1/2 inch hole will accommodate the 1/2 inch tenon I'm going to turn on the bottom of here. And also I'm going to remove the bottom piece, the lighter color wood, and glue this dowel into the existing hole. Actually, I'll have to drill it out to 3/8. Currently a 5/16 hole in there. This is a 3/8 inch dowel. So I'll do that, and then we will turn this dowel into something a little more feminine, I guess. I don't know. So that's next. Okay, on the bottom disc, this is 1 inch thick, I've drilled a 3/8 inch hole, and that's ready for this dowel to be glued in. And on the top piece, I've drilled that out to 1/2 inch, and on my dowel here, I'm going to turn this down to 1/2 inch from here over. And then I'm just going to create some mild coves in here, just for appearance sake, nothing necessary. Very shallow coves. I've got 8 inches from this point to here. So it'll probably end up being about an 8.5 or about a 7.5 inch dowel sticking up above this. So that's next. So I'm just going to use my parting tool to turn this down to 1/2 inch. This might be a good time to find out if my 1/2 inch wrench is actually a 1/2 inch. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, got a ways to go. Well, what do you know? Okay, I can use the 1/2 inch wrench. Alright, that's good. I'm going to undercut this lip just a touch. Just so it sits down. I guess I'll have to use something else to do that. Can't get in tight enough with this parting tool. That way it'll sit down nice and flush. Well, that's sort of what I had in mind. I can't make this point too skinny. It has to support my hole drilling. Boy, 3/8, huh? That's going to be a 1/16 inch on each side of this. Maybe I didn't think this all the way through, huh? Well, that's about as far as I better go before I drill this hole. Well, I feel like I've gotten myself into a bit of a pickle here. What I'm going to do is sand this down, totally sanded, ready to go. Probably even put the finish on it. And then I'm going to glue the top piece, this piece, on here. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm drilling a 3/8 inch hole into a 1/2 inch tenon, which is only going to leave 1/16 inch wall, which is enough, but if I go off center somehow or something, I'm going to be stuck. So I'm going to glue this on here and then drill the hole. And that'll provide some support from this wall around here. The problem with all that is I just have this in the internal jaws of my chuck. It's not grabbed by the jaws that are supposed to grab it. So there's not a lot of support there, and I'm afraid the weight of this bouncing around out here 8 inches away might be an issue. I don't know. So I'll have to turn it real slow, and I'll have to provide support with my hand while I do all that. Next step is sand this. I'll do that off camera, get the finish on there, get this glued on, ready to drill the hole, and then I'll be back. Okay, this is probably the scariest part for me. I did start to drill in, and then I remembered I didn't have the camera on, but I've just barely scratched the surface. And I'm turning real slow, just over 100 RPM, and I need to go in 2 3/4 of an inch. And currently I'm in about 1/8 of an inch, so here we go. What I'm really worried about is if this doesn't stay centered, or if it isn't centered right now. kind of hard to tell. It looks kind of like it's wobbling a little bit. I don't know. But then once it's placed on the spindle, the 3/8 inch, it's going to go up in there. Then it's going to wobble as the yarn is pulled off of it, and I'd rather it didn't do that. Yeah. Sorry for the noise. How far did I say I gotta go? 2 3/4 of an inch. So I'm at 2.5. It's actually going easier than I thought it would. And I think we're there. And it is off center. I don't know if you can see that, but it's off center. And also this is protruding out the bottom a little bit, so I know I need to sand that off, and I'm gonna do that on my belt sander. I just want to see, let's see if this fits. Now that's going to have this nylon washer is going to be on here, and that should make it friction free. Seems to turn pretty easy. I just hope we don't have a lot of wobble. So now what I have to do is put my live center back in, press up against this, and cut the other end off. So I'll get set up for that. I hardly ever do it, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and take this off the lathe and then cut that off. So I'm very close anyways, and I've got it pretty well cleaned up. So we're just going to back this up. Still has enough material to support it. So I'll just cut that off and sand it up and put some finish on there. So I'll get back to you in just a moment. So I got the end of it cut off, and now I'm just kind of sanding it up. So now I'm going to take it over to the belt sander and sand up that bottom and get some finish on here, and then place it on the base and see how it looks. Now, two of the things that I didn't use, my plan for this little rivet was maybe I would drill the hole in this dowel and insert this rivet, and then drill the hole in here to the exact depth so that this would ride with the rivet in there, would ride up inside that hole, and that would provide the turning mechanism. But I decided against that. I also had this piece that I was considering using only because it was slightly larger diameter than the nylon washer that I ended up using. But the nylon washer works just fine. And this works just fine the way it is. I don't have any yarn, but I'm not turning very hard, and it's turning just fine. So I think I'm done. And there's not any wobble to this, or if there is any, it's not much. And that kind of surprises me pleasantly. Real happy about that. And it fits in here really well. My little rise that I made, it blends together pretty well. And again, that's dished out on the top to help contain the yarn. So there you go. One yarn genie in the book. If you like this video, thank you for watching, by the way. Thank you very much. If you like the video, please give me a thumbs up. If you are a subscriber, I appreciate that very much. Really important to me. If you're not a subscriber, go ahead and become one. Just click that subscribe button down there. I try and put out regular videos, about one a week usually. So for now, this is Phil, Shady Acres Woodshop, signing off.